Long story short, right now, September 2nd, 2019, I feel the most free. I feel the best that I've ever felt in my life. Truthfully, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And no, it's not because everything's going perfect in my life right now, but I can say honestly and truly that I am free from a lot of the pressures that I put on myself to be myself. And it started with me reading from Matthew chapter 4. And the quick backstory to this place, I'm going to read this and I'm just going to go on a rant like I do every episode. The backstory to this passage is that this is when Jesus is getting started. He's about to get started on his ministry. He's about to, do all the things that you've heard Jesus do. But before he could do that, he wanted to go be isolated, fast for 40 days and 40 nights, and be more in tune with God. But of course, whenever you want to be more in tune with God, you're going to be met with a lot of opposition. And this is where the devil came in and tempted Jesus. And as far as I know, and if his Bible scholars watching this, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. This is the first time recorded in the Bible that the devil spoke to Jesus. So I'm going to read the passage, starting from verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came, the tempter being the devil, came to him, he said, "If thou be the Son of God," mark that place, "if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread." But he answered and said, "It is written," he being Jesus, he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, "If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give the angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone." Jesus said unto him, "It is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God." I'm going to stop right there. I've read this passage a million times. I've been taught this passage a million times, and most of the teachings that I've heard on this passage have revolved around how Jesus was able to battle the temptation of the devil through using scripture. But I'm not going to talk about that. Because like I said, I read this scripture a million times. I've been taught it a million times, but in the span of the last 7 days, God opened my eyes to a completely different way to look at this, and it was for me. And I may talk about my life a lot in this episode, but I pray that the way I talk about my life is going to be something that you guys can resonate with, because, man, a lot happened, and like I said, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life, and this is why. If thou be the Son of God, that's what the devil said. That's how he started this entire thing off. Every sentence that he's saying, if thou be the Son of God, then boom. Insinuating that you have to fulfill some type of criteria in order to be the Son of God. That's what he was at least insinuating. And it's funny because I believe that ultimately that the criteria that the devil wants us to fulfill either leads us to being disobedient to God or failing. And when you are disobedient or you fail, you're either falling out of your relationship with God, you're questioning your identity, or you're rejecting your true identity. And I'm going to unpack all that. When I was reading this, I was just led to write down what my criteria would look like. For Jesus, the devil said, if thou be Son of God, throw yourself off a cliff. If thou be the Son of God, you have the power to turn this stone into bread. Do it. For me, it wasn't to turn stone into bread. It wasn't to jump off a cliff and hope the angels catch me. I wrote down the criteria that the devil wants me to fulfill in order to be Emmanuel, right? So if thou be Emmanuel, I wrote down 5 things. The first one, if thou be Emmanuel, you need to get a whole bunch of likes and views on social media. That's what the devil was trying to tell me. If you are Emmanuel, get a whole bunch of likes and views on Instagram, YouTube, website, whatever. If you are Emmanuel, every girl needs to love you. If you are Emmanuel, People need to perceive you as smart, funny, handsome, caring, sweet, a gentleman, and just pretty much better than the average guy. If you are a man, then you need all the attention from everybody. You need to be super popular. If you are Emmanuel, then you need to be, you have to have a tough, rugged side to you. Slap somebody if they talk to you the wrong way. You got to be a tough guy too. You know what I'm saying? If you are Emmanuel, that is. And it's funny because my life growing up, I never just ignored it. I never just fought it with scripture like Jesus did. I believed. I took the bait. I said, okay, bet. I am Emmanuel. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get as much likes as I can on Instagram, as much views as I can get people to come to the site. I'm going to try and shoot my shot 1,000,000 times and hope the girls like me. I'm going to try and, dress nice and, make sure I'm always looking good. I'm going to try to be the nicest and sweetest guy as much as I can. So people will, think I'm better than the average person. I'm going to try and be the most popular dude in school. I'm going to try and be a tough guy, when I need to be a tough guy. And it led me to complete and utter depression, anxiety, and just the feelings of being a failure. Why? Because I sucked at every last thing on this list. I sucked at it. And it would lead me, like I said, to being either disobedient to God or to just failing. And ultimately, when I was disobedient to God, I backslided my relationship with him. Or when I failed at one of these things, I would question my identity because aren't I supposed to be good at these things? I'm Emmanuel. Maybe I'm not Emmanuel because I suck at it. Or I reject my true identity. I'm a dork at heart. But I know girls don't like the dorks. So I'm not going to be that. I'm going to reject that and I'm going to go and I'm going to be cool so I can get a whole bunch of likes on Instagram. That was me. And when I wrote this down, I looked at it and I studied it just for a little bit. And I'm telling you, I'm feeling different this day. And I noticed that if I look at each one of these 5 things, something was missing in each of these 5 things, because I've pretty much been convinced, and this is pretty much why the reason I started Unassociated, is that my identity doesn't come from the world's labels, how people perceive me or with the environment that I've come from. It comes from God. God said that I'm Emmanuel. God has made me who I am. He gave me my identity. But when I look at this list, it seems as though every last thing on this list traces back to people. Traces back to people and how people perceive me. What control do I have over how many likes and views that I get on social media? Other people have that. That's dependent on other people and how they perceive me and how much they like the picture or whatever. Every single thing on this list had to do with how other people perceived me. Traced back to other people. So what the devil is really saying is that if thou be Emmanuel, then all these people need to love you. If thou be Emmanuel, everybody should like you. If thou be Emmanuel, everybody should give you their attention. If thou be Emmanuel, then you should be able to mark off all these things off the list. And you can't be Emmanuel until you do. But like I said, I've always known that my identity comes from God. But what was missing in all of this entire list, was God. God is nowhere in this. Likes and views on Instagram? Girls? People perceiving me as handsome? Popularity? Tough guy? Where in this criteria does it include having a relationship with God? Because ultimately, If the criteria doesn't include God, who's the source, the giver of my identity, then how in the world can it include my identity? The answer? It can't. Every last thing on this list is traced back to how other people feel about Emmanuel. It has nothing to do with who Emmanuel is. What's your criteria? If the devil came to you and told you, if you are you, then you should be able to do this, accomplish this. What's that for you? I challenge you to make your own list of the criteria that the enemy has put in front of your face, saying that you're only you if you can accomplish this, this, and this. For some people, it could be grades. For some people, it could be, a lot of the same things I put on there, likes on Instagram. For some people, it could be making their parents proud. Because ultimately, I've been lied to my entire life by the devil telling me, the enemy telling me that I need to fulfill all these things, check all these things off on the list in order to finally be Emmanuel. But I've been Emmanuel the entire time, but I had no power. I had very limited power. Why? Because I only knew small parts of Emmanuel, the small parts that I was questioning, the small parts that I was rejecting. So finally, Emmanuel can say, I am free, and I'm free indeed. I'm on this planet to be who God put me to be on this planet. And if that just so happens to create riches, to create fame, to create all that different stuff that people love, that I like too, it looks cool, then so be it. And if it means that nobody pays attention to me, that I get 0 likes on Instagram because I like to post things at 1 a.m. like a weirdo, if that means that no girls ever like me and I never find my wife, or if it means I get no attention and no popularity, if that means that I get beat up, I'll never get beat up. Or if that means that I just don't look like a tough guy and I'm more like a Carlton, whatever, then that's okay. Because none of those things define me. I don't have to fulfill anything on that list. I just gotta know God.